who or what is going to govern Gaza, who or what is going to provide security, and who or what is going to pay for and preside over the tremendous cost of reconstructing psychologically, economically, politically, a area roughly twice the size of the District of Columbia that is in ruins.
Let's now reflect on that big speech given at the United Nations General Assembly in New York in the past hour from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He gave a really wide-ranging speech, a very punchy speech. He talked about the hostages. He talked about the unspeakable savagery of the 7th of October. He talked about the world forgetting about what happened then. He said that Israel would never forget it. He talked about, in his view, their military successes in Iran and Gaza, Lebanon and Syria. And he said that they're not done yet. Let's listen to a couple of clips from his speech. Netanyahu said that he was deliberately broadcasting his speech to messages, his message to phones across Gaza. Let's have a listen to what he said.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to special efforts by Israeli intelligence, my words are now also being carried. They're streamed live to the cell phones of Gazans. So to the remaining Hamas leaders and to the jailers of our hostages, I now say, lay down your arms. Let my people go. Free the hostages, all of them, the whole 48. Free the hostages now. If you do, you will live. If you don't, Israel will hunt you down.
He also had this message for hostages held by Hamas.
Our brave heroes. This is Prime Minister Netanyahu speaking to you live from the United Nations. We have not forgotten you, not even for a second. The people of Israel are with you. We will not falter and we will not rest until we bring all of you home.
And of course, it was also notable that there was a big walkout at the beginning of his speech, and there were a few other walkouts during his speech. Well, let's now catch up with Ari Culver, who is a political analyst in Jerusalem. Ari, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. What did you make of this speech from the Prime Minister?
Well, Netanyahu loves these General Assembly outings. He thinks they are his opportunity to talk not to the world, actually, but to the Israeli public. They are every General Assembly speech. The joke in Israel is an election speech for Netanyahu, whether or not there's an election on the horizon. And I think in many ways, this was a kind of fairly classic Netanyahu speech. He had his props. A big QR code badge that linked to stuff about October the 7th that you couldn't actually scan because TV's resolutions aren't high enough. And, a map of the Middle East covered in red lines and ticks. And gimmicks, playing these speeches inside Gaza, something very controversial in Israel because soldiers had to essentially risk their lives to put up these speakers in the middle of Gaza City so that his speech could be played.
And look, as you say, he's very much using this global platform. The world's eyes are on him, and he's sending a very powerful message back to his base. Is he thinking about upcoming elections?
Yeah, I mean, it seems in theory that the next election in Israel is in about a year's time. In reality, it's likely to be earlier, early enough that this might be his last UN speech. Until then, he's trying to shape Israeli public opinion and tell a narrative in which he has essentially saved Israel since October the 7th, defeated all the enemies. That's why there was a lot of triumphalism in the speech. It wasn't so much focused on this ongoing war in Gaza, but much more about, we've beaten everyone. And what we're doing in Gaza City now is Hamas's last stronghold. The war will be over any time now. That's the message he wants to try and send at home and hope people don't focus on the fact that he was also the leader at the time of the October 7th attacks that brought Israel to this point in the first place.
And how are his messages landing in Israel?
Well, They're landing fairly flat at the moment, mostly because of this stunt involving the speakers. And it seems like overnight, troops in Gaza were essentially told, you've got to put up these machines, don't ask why. And no one understood what was going on. Once reports came out, Netanyahu's obviously denied it, that it's not true. We're not putting any speakers in Gaza. They're all on the outside. No one has to risk their lives. But then Israel is a small country, and all the soldiers were sending photos from their phones that they were being, forced into quite dangerous situations to put these speakers up for what was essentially a kind of political stunt. Gazans are perfectly capable of following Netanyahu's speech if they want to. And also this claim about hacking the cell phones, hacking the mobile phones, which is something Netanyahu announced on the podium and has been reported all over the world. But I haven't seen any confirmation on the ground from anyone in Gaza who said it actually happened. The most I've heard is that basically everyone got texted a link that they could click on if they wanted to. So I don't really know what's going on with that either. But it was a big dramatic headline, the kind of thing that he likes.
Absolutely. Well, Ari, as ever, great to catch up with you. Thank you very much for your time. And joining us now is Aaron David Miller, who is Senior Fellow at the Carnegie Endowment. And Aaron is a former US Middle East diplomat and negotiator. Aaron, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What did you make of Netanyahu's speech?
I mean, it was predictable. He said before leaving Israel on Thursday that he was going to tell the truth as he sees it. And his enemy adversary list is quite clear. He loves props. So he showed a new chart, or actually maybe it's an old chart, of the curse, what he describes as the curse. That's the pro-Iranian axis, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, led by the prime puppeteer, Iran. He outlined Israel's efforts, what I call escalation dominance, which is something the Israelis have not had since the state was created, and that is an ability to control the pace, the focus, the intensity of their military activities with all of their adversaries to prevent escalation and escalate when they choose to. That's an extraordinary fact, which in the hands of an Israeli prime minister who had vision and a sense of strategy, literally might be used to convert that military power into durable and enduring political gains and agreements. I think that the speech was not the most important item on the prime minister's agenda. It's come and it's gone. You remember last year's address, September 27th?
Yeah, I remember.
For the UN, as soon as he finished, exploding pagers and later walkie-talkies would explode in Beirut. So there were no surprises. The key issue here is what happens on Monday. When in fact the president and his special envoy present their 21-point plan, not seeing the text, for how to end the war in Gaza. That plan reportedly has elements that the prime minister will not like. And the question is whether or not Donald Trump, who agrees with Benjamin Netanyahu's end state, at least for Gaza, which is to eliminate Hamas, not just as a military organization, but to decimate and undermine its role to influence politics in Gaza, whether or not Netanyahu will be able to persuade the president to give him more time to continue their military operation in Gaza City. So that is the meeting to watch, not what happened in New York.
And just seeing on the breaking news, Trump just did a clip before getting on his plane saying, I think we have a deal in terms of Gaza. And of course, the other reporting is that Tony Blair could play a role, perhaps as some interim leader of some governing body for a post-war Gaza. This is reportedly gained some support from the White House. What have you heard about that, Aaron, and what do you make of that idea?
Well, first of all, another pronouncement from the president that we're close to a deal is kind of a wash, rinse, and repeat cycle.
Yeah.
I heard this in Anchorage. I've heard it, I don't know how many times with respect to Iran, how many ceasefires, how many efforts were close to a deal. I think that Tony Blair has been working on this probably over the past year or so. His notion is for a GITA, a Gaza International Transitional Authority, in which the international community would align with non-Palestinian, non-Hamas, not Palestinian Authority representatives. It's a very complicated plan. Look, the issue here is not another plan. The issue is whether or not you can get an American president, an Israeli prime minister, the Arab states, and I don't know what to do about Palestinian representation, to have the political will to answer the three questions about the day after that need to be answered. Who or what is going to govern Gaza? Who or what is going to provide security? And who or what is going to pay for and preside over the tremendous cost of reconstructing psychologically, economically, politically, a area roughly twice the size of the District of Columbia that is in ruins. We're closer to answering those questions.
You're absolutely right, and you know that you've spelt that out really, really clearly. And I think, you know, as much as you say, we have these pronouncements, as you say, Anchorage in terms of what's happening with Russia and all of this. But I mean, I suppose here in the UK, a lot of eyebrows are being raised about, you know, is Tony Blair the right person to do this? I know he's had a long-standing connection with the Middle East. You know, here the Iraq war still looms large. Lots of people look back on that and think that was a big mistake in terms of Britain's involvement with that. I mean, what do you think the sort of the regional reaction would be to Tony Blair? Is he somebody who is well regarded, or is he somebody who people are hostile to because of Iraq?
You know, frankly, in terms of what is compelling in life, it's not Tony Blair or someone else. It's whether or not the ideas and the political will to implement them are compelling. Success is the world's most compelling ideology. I don't care who articulates this plan. If in fact it's logical, rational, and can be embraced with a political will and muscle behind it, frankly, given the amount of human suffering, the hostages, their families, 2 million Palestinians in Gaza, I don't care who came up with this plan. You still need an American president to own it. You need the Europeans and the international community to embrace it. You're going to need the Arab states to pay for it. And you're going to need an Israeli prime minister who's willing to accept the basic elements. And this one right now, Benjamin Netanyahu, is not.
Well, look, Aaron, as ever, always a pleasure to catch up with you and hear your great insight and analysis. Thanks for your time. That's Aaron David Miller, Senior Fellow at the Carnegie Endowment and a former US Middle East diplomat and negotiator. And I think he's absolutely hit the nail on the head. You know, people can say, I think we're close to a deal, but until you've actually got buy-in from all those different components, it's going to be very difficult to really sort of see how that deal works out. Although let's hope, we all want a deal to be done.